Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to some more Sam O'Nella, and this one is Animals in Space, A Brief History. I'm going away soon, as I've been saying, not for too long, but I'm going away for a little bit. So I'm trying to do some good reactions that people like, and also some shorter ones that I enjoy and I feel like people like. And Sam O'Nella's videos are so easy to watch because they're just fun to watch. He's funny, and they're quite short. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But this one is Animals in Space, A Brief History. And yeah, if you want to see some more videos whilst I'm away, because I'm not going to be posting as much as I can do because I've not had enough time to get recording videos in advance, especially because I'm still coughing and all this kind of stuff. I've been a bit sick. Yeah, my Patreon is where there's loads of videos like from the past I've posted. And if you're interested in that, links are in the description. There's probably over 100 now that you haven't seen or whatever. But let's jump into this and see this video.
Hey kids, animal test subjects have always been an important facet of science, since they allow us to study physiology in more destructive ways than we could get away with on humans. So it should come as no surprise that, over the years, there's been a lot of creatures haphazardly thrown at the cosmos against their will. Here's a bunch of smelly animals that achieved more in their short lives than you ever will. Quick disclaimer, this is by no means a comprehensive list, not even close, we'd be here all day if it was, more so just a highlight reel of the ones I found the most interesting. So the Great Zoo in the Sky was first founded in 1947 when the US launched a craft containing a bunch of fruit flies 68 miles into the air in order to see what kind of horrible mutants would get made from all the cosmic radiation up there. Unfortunately, they were totally fine, so the Earth was like, hey, living things can go into space and not die instantly, supple. And the next year they decided to send up a rhesus macaque.
A year after they sent flies, and then they realized, oh, we can send a monkey in now. Damn, that was a big jump in time.
Named Albert, which it seems kind of like jumping the gun to go from barely alive
Yeah,
specks
exactly.
to basically a person in one step. If it were me, I would have thrown like a frog or a gerbil in between there, but whatever, I'm no cosmopolitan. Anyway, Albert died of suffocation on the way up and never really made it to space alive. Fun fact, this rocket was actually a V-2 missile stolen from the Germans after World War II. So just in case any of you have any sympathy for those Nazi characters, they're technically responsible for the death of a poor innocent space monkey.
Wow. It just gets worse from those pesky Nazis.
Pretty condemning if you ask me. But I guess the US felt pretty bad about it, so they decided to deal with their grief by naming the next monkey Albert 2. Pretty unhealthy coping mechanism according to my shrink, but she also thinks Punk is dead, so what does she know? This Albert actually made it into space alive through a grand effort incorporating all the incredible cutting-edge technology that the atomic era had to offer. And after all that, they goofed on the parachute, so Albert 2 turned into a fine red mist on impact, which just goes to prove the age-old adage, you can lead a monkey to space, but you can't make him land. There were a few more Alberts after this. Albert 3 fucking exploded. Albert 4 made it up, but he had another tissue paper parachute what don't work for heck, so he's out. Albert 5, yet again, bad shoot, liquefied on impact, until finally, in 1951, on Albert number 6, they figured out how to make a big blanket that consistently makes you not immediately die when you fall from the sky, and the monkey was recovered alive from the capsule, alongside his 11 mouse roommates. Of course, he died 2 hours later, but hey, still counts. Earlier that same year, Russia launched 2 little pupnik.
God's sake, man, these poor monkeys.
Named Tsigan and Dzik, both of whom came back unharmed. These 2 were the first vertebrates to ever leave Earth and come back alive. Then in 57, the Reds snagged another achievement by putting the first living thing into orbit, besides the bacteria clinging to Sputnik 1, but they're losers, we don't talk about them. Specifically, they launched one brave and daring dog from the streets of Moscow, probably the most famous animal to ever go into space. You know its name well. That dog is, of course, Airbud. Unlike those other guys we talked about, Laika was never planned to be recovered intact since we...
I've been trolled. I've been rickrolled, didn't I? Fuck's sake. Airbud? Who the fuck's Airbud? I've never seen this film.
Airbud. Unlike those other guys we talked about, Laika was never planned to be recovered intact since we barely knew how to put something into orbit by this time, let alone bring it back. But they still wanted to make sure she stayed alive long enough to at least reach space. So before the mission, they put her through the most rigorous canine space camp that Russia had to offer, throwing her in a centrifuge for a while to get her used to G-force, making her cage progressively smaller to get her used to cramped spaces, which made her just not shit anymore at all, but that's a different different story. They also switched her diet to a
What?
special high nutrition gel that she would have eaten after takeoff. You know, had her brain not crapped out from overheating within the first few hours. In
Oh
59,
my
the US strapped 2
god.
monkeys to the nose cone of a Jupiter missile and actually got them back alive afterwards, which is crazy mostly because these things withstood 38 Gs of acceleration. For context, that's the force that makes even trained pilots lose consciousness times 4, or this
How?
thing times 12, or roughly the same forced experience when you realize that's not a normal speed bump, but one of those evil tiny ones that ruin your life. You know the ones. Well, that's what you get for doing 25 near a hospital, Sam. Well, hey, good thing I'm already here considering the ballistics test that just went down between the roof of my car and my frickin' skull. Jesus. So in 61, we graduated from monkeys to great apes, sending up a chimpanzee named Ham. Remember Space Chimps? Yeah, it was that. Frame for frame. Andy Samberg
Ham's
and all.
one that
What's
I know.
special about Ham is that he was actually trained to pull levers and slap buttons while up in the ship, being rewarded
What?
banana pellets for completing tasks and getting his feet tased whenever he messed up. Sounds like a cartoon, I know, but I promise it's for real. Meanwhile, the
What?
Soviets were busy putting a big, bald, smart ape into orbit, no big deal. France saw the US and Russia sending up monkeys and dogs and felt left out, so in 63, they launched a cat into space and were like, yeah, that's cool and unique. I'm one of the popular kids now. In 68, the Soviets saw the rabbit making rice cakes on the moon and said, how about a tortoise for that hare, launching 2 of them into deep space, all the way around the moon and back to Earth, where they were recovered alive after their capsule landed in the ocean. Kinda cheating when you are your own crash suit, but an impressive feat regardless. In 73, we put mummy chogs in space. What's a mummy chog? It's one of these things. Like a fish, but real rough and tumble. Tolerates low oxygen, weird pressure, high salinity, dishwasher safe, Energy Star rated, you name it, sister. At first they could only swim in circles, but after a couple weeks, they actually adapted to zero G and figured out how to maneuver properly. Even more interesting, we also brought mummy chog eggs, and when these hatched, the little mummy choglets knew how to swim in zero G immediately. Kinda spooky, honestly.
What?
That same mission also sent up some spiders who managed to spin some webs.
That's so weird, man. It's weird. Like, animals are so quick to adapting. Like, certain animals will adapt so quickly to their surroundings, and then once they're used to it, it's just force of habit. Then whatever you give birth to now is just gonna be used to it. It doesn't make sense.
Crash webs, mind you, but hey, they managed. In 78,
Wait,
up some
what?
choglets knew how to manage to spin some webs. Trash webs, mind you, but hey, they managed. In 78, the
hey.
Muppet Show aired Pigs in Space for the first time. In 85, we cut off the arms of a bunch of newts and sent them up to see if they grow back the same way. The reasoning behind this being, if a newt can't grow stuff back, then an astronaut with a paper cut probably can't either. Fortunately, they rearmed themselves at the normal rate, so all's good on that front. Around the same time, NASA actually had talks with Sesame Street about sending Big Bird up on the space shuttle as a publicity stunt. This is
I gotta see this. I mean, I knew there was animals that could do that, but newts' arms, what? They just regrow? Is that how do you spell it? Growth. How do you spell newts? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Salamander limb regeneration. I don't want to click one that gets me blocked or this video, whatever, something happened to this video, but
Feeding on a wide
alright, this ain't gonna be it. Well, damn, the more you know. Newt's just arms just grow back. That's madness.
real. The plan ultimately fell through after they realized Big Bird is fucking giant and unwieldy at all times, literally the worst possible choice for a celebrity cameo on a space shuttle. So instead they sent a school teacher in his place. And then the Challenger fucking exploded. Let me reiterate. There is a timeline not too far from this one where Big Bird is a casualty in the single worst
my
astronautical
God.
disaster in history. A tiny evil part of me almost wishes that happened. Like, that's just so indescribably absurd. In the early 90s, we sent up some baby jellyfish to grow up in space just for laughs. They figured out how to maneuver just fine, but when we brought them back down, they literally didn't have a concept of gravity and couldn't orient themselves properly in their new environment. Which, being a jellyfish is the easiest thing there is. You just kind of exist, maybe squirm a little now and then. So when you manage to somehow mess that up, you know things have gone seriously wrong. In 2003, the US sent up a bunch of invertebrates, including silkworms, spiders, carpenter bees, and harvester ants. Whoops, they exploded. In 07, some tardigrades went up, totally exposed to the vacuum of space for 10 days, which, surprise, surprise, they were fine. On that same mission, a cockroach gave birth, creating the first organism that we know of to ever have been conceived outside of Earth. And finally, in 2018, Elon Musk sent a big basket of mice to the International Space Station. Just, 'cause he can. So those are just a handful of God's creatures who got to experience the majesty of not knowing up from down. If you're like me, you're probably a little jealous. Why does an ugly ape get to go into space, but I don't? I wish to bear witness to the music of the spheres firsthand, in a way that a lower creature could never appreciate. You know why you feel like that? Because you're a nerd. And what better way to fill that space-shaped space in your shriveled nerd heart than a vast collection of high-quality documentaries? That's why you need to try...
Advert? Curiosity Stream, let's go. He was getting his money. This is a long time ago, so it's probably not relevant now. But it was getting the bag, and that's what you love to see. The drawings he does are probably scarier than the actual events. I love how Sam is slowly becoming darker over time. Big Bird dying in the fucking challenge is the most hilarious thing I've ever heard. Imagine that. That would have ruined that. That would have ruined the Muppets forever, wouldn't it? I mean, god damn. But especially for children in those days. But yeah, hopefully enjoy this reaction. If you want some more salmonella, you're probably gonna get it because over the next few days I'm gonna be trying to post as much as I can, and he's a good channel to react to. But yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, peace.